Join us for an empowering experience. Hiding Behind the Lipstick, Women's Conference. Date: Saturday, May 17, 2025. Time: 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Location: Growing by Grace Church. Ticket price includes meal, worship experience, and amazing speakers. Are you ready for an unforgettable day of healing, empowerment, and transformation? The Hiding Behind the Lipstick Women's Conference is designed to uplift, inspire, and renew women from all walks of life. What to expect: dynamic and inspirational speakers sharing wisdom and life-changing testimonies. Engaging activities designed to help you reflect, grow, and connect. A delicious catered meal included with your ticket. Networking and community. Be surrounded by strong, like-minded women, vendors, and resources to support your personal and spiritual growth. Tickets are on sale now. At your tickets today on Eventbrite. Don't miss out on this powerful gathering of women ready to break free and thrive. Sponsorship opportunities available. Want to support this transformational event? We have sponsorship packages available that will provide brand exposure and community impact. Contact us for details. Link for more.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon. With your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton. If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.
Well, hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I'm so happy that you have tuned in with us tonight. Tonight, we have a dear friend here. We have author Kerry L. Brooks. Welcome.
Thank you.
I am very happy that we finally locked you in and we're able to get you. You've been traveling the world and everything, but glad you put us on your schedule.
Yes.
All right. So tonight we are going to be talking to author Kerry Brooks. He is going to be talking to us about a book that he wrote that is very near and dear to his heart. I just found out actually on last week, and I mean, look what God does. I've had two guests here this month, not even knowing that it was Autism Awareness, but I had two guests scheduled, and we talked to DeAndre on last week about autism, and it was with his son. And tonight we're going to be talking to Kerry. And Kerry has a project near and dear to his heart where his son back in 2003 was diagnosed with autism as well. And so we're going to be hearing a story of survival, a story of beating the odds, a story of not taking the diagnosis and working by faith and just, refusing to just give in to the status quo. And so tonight, this is going to be a very amazing, inspirational story. Let me tell you, go ahead and like, tag, and share. Go ahead and get your popcorn. Everybody come on in for the interview because we're going to have a really good conversation tonight. All right, Kerry, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the very first question, Kerry, is please tell us, who is Kerry Brooks?
Absolutely. First, I'd like to say God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. And Minister Seaton, I want to thank you for your invitation to have me on your show. I sincerely appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing in the community, uplifting the community, uplifting the individual. That's very important to all of us. So thank you for what you do. I sincerely appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now tell us,
who is Kerry Brooks? Well, father, son, 32 years of law enforcement as well. So that's my professional career as a federal agent. I did 32 years in federal law enforcement, had the opportunity to work in multiple states and also international, to serve as a U.S. diplomat in 4 different countries as well. And before that, I had the opportunity to play, college football. When there's a walk-on, earn a scholarship that paid for my education, decided to major in criminal justice. I've always had this sense of giving back to the community, even at a young age. And that came, to be honest, from my mom, of always encouraging us to look out for other people as well and to do the right thing. So my father played a huge role in my life as well. So my parents instilled help others at a very young age in our lives. And so that's what I went on to do as a professional. And then as I continued my career, I had several kids, and my first son was diagnosed with autism.
Mm.
And so I became a father, and unbeknownst to us, he was diagnosed with autism, and we didn't have a clue as to what autism was. It was our crisis. It was our greatest crisis at that particular time.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if you probably would ever forget that date, but kind of just take us on um, a replay of what that looked like the day that you. So, were there symptoms for people, for parents that are watching today? That are like, wondering what is autism, because we do want to let people know if there is some symptoms or some signs that made you kind of question if something was going on, Kerry. So tell us what kind of things we should look for, what was going on, and then what it felt like that day being in that doctor's office and hearing that diagnosis.
Yeah. It was a slow progression as far as us. The first people who would notice the traits and the characteristic will probably be the parents. If not the parents, it's going to be probably, the school teachers or maybe even the grandparents. For us, our son was right at the end of 2, going on 3 years old. We started to notice that his vocabulary, he was speaking about 20, maybe 25 words, and his vocabulary decreased to about 2 words. Like, wow, this is peculiar. And we start to notice that he didn't have any eye contact with us. So it's like he could hear us, he was listening to us, but he didn't have any eye contact with us. Like most children will look in their mother's eyes, listen to their mother's voice, look at your lips so they can try to make out what you're saying. And also, he wouldn't sleep at night. And that's not too uncommon for a child. So you got to look at multiple factors. Like, it may not be one thing, maybe a multitude of things that's going on. And then you want to go to the doctor and say, hey, here's what we're experiencing. And then they can run additional tests. For us, we first went to see a psychologist once we noticed that he wasn't eating properly, didn't have any eye contact. He was lining toys up. That's one of the things that parents can look for. They were lining toys up and look at them for hours. They like having a routine. If you try to break your child routine and they have, what I refer to as a meltdown, it can be, do I need to get this look at? Most kids are able to, you can take the toys from them, talk to them, and calm them down. Some kids on the spectrum, it can become very, traumatic. He was eating very little. He only wanted to eat like carbohydrated food, like French fries, bread, and things of that nature. So it was just, his diet was very, very limited, and we didn't understand why. So we finally went to a psychologist. They did an observation, talked to us. That's huge. Parents play a huge role in what's happening at home, because if you do early intervention, the child is very young, so the child more than likely can't speak for themselves. So the psychologist, the doctor, at the parents, what are you noticing? They would do an observation evaluation on them. We went that route, and that's how we first got the diagnosis. And he was still very young, so they was like, let's give it a little bit of time. We're like, no, we want to get on this right away. And then we had the diagnosis, and that's when our lives changed forever.
Yeah. We've got several people tuning in tonight. We've got advocate Anita Sproles, and Anita just chimed in, and she said it's always best to check early. She says she has 4 children with autism. Well, thank you for chiming in on the conversation tonight. For all of you that are watching tonight, we're going to be getting some information, not just on Mr. Kerry's journey, but also signs and things that you can look for, and some helpful information. If you know someone that needs this information, we definitely ask that you go ahead and tag them in so that they can see this interview live. And if not, make sure afterwards to make sure that they get to see this. Okay. She said she went early and it helped. Very good. So, Kerry, you were saying that they were telling you to wait a little while, but I mean, obviously, that's not something you want to wait on.
No, and she's absolutely correct. Yeah, she's absolutely correct. Early intervention is key. Early intervention is key. And we're talking about, my son was diagnosed He's 25, and about 22 years ago. Autism today is talked about. There's more research out there. There's more information out there. So
Yeah.
that's key. Get the information, share it with your doctor. But early intervention is key. But pay attention to what your kids are going through. If they're at the school age, kindergarten, first grade, pay attention to what the teachers are saying as well, because they see kids all the time. So pay attention to what the teachers are saying. But early intervention is key to help our children reach their full potential. So she's absolutely correct.
Yeah. Very, very good. And I want to read a little bit of your bio. I like to kind of give people background information. And so I want to read, this is actually the synopsis from Kerry's book. And for all of you that are tuning in the comment section, there is actually the link to his book. Let me put this up. So you are able to, that's his website. Okay. So that is in the links. And then also the link to the book. So we want to make sure that you guys can go onto Amazon and actually be able to locate the book. And he has it in different formats for you. Okay. But let me go ahead and read a little bit of Kerry's bio. Of course, as he said, he worked in federal law enforcement for nearly 30 years, served in various countries. So he's traveled abroad. And then to get some news like this, when you have been just, traveling and just, I say living the good life, getting to do getting to do all these amazing things. But then as a father and as a husband, to have to, get a diagnosis like this. He and his wife have a total of 5 children, and to get a diagnosis like this and have to figure out a new strategy for your family, like, this can be definitely life-changing, as you said. As we said before, Kerry's son was diagnosed in 2003 with autism, which was very devastating to his family. When the physician offered this, they offered 2 recommendations to his family, which one was to prepare for his son being in a group home, and number 2, to focus on having other children because this was his first child. I mean, to imagine, the doctor, only giving those negative reports. Wow. But Mr. Kerry and his wife found strength and faith and refused to just, accept that. In fact, they decided to go ahead and do research and really focus on trying to figure out, other ways, not necessarily a cure, but strategies that would help their son to reach his highest potential. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but he does end up sharing with me that his son actually ended up graduating from high school with honors. Okay. With honors.
Yes.
So, even for myself, there are times when we just have to fight, not times, let me say all the time. We have to fight for our kids. We understand medical diagnosis, but we know that's not the final say. Tell me about what that journey looked like, Kerry, when you were, having these walls in front of you. You're trying to get this research and this information. Like, tell us a story of that. And then this honors graduation, like, kind of take us on that journey.
So when we first started, we were devastated when the doctor told us. And once we got the diagnosis from the psychologist, we went to see a general practitioner. And we explained to him that our son had been diagnosed with autism. We wanted to know the steps that we could take to help our son. He said, "Oh, he has autism. Well, listen, there's nothing you can do for him. Prepare him for a group home. Go have other kids." And I've never been so upset with anyone in my life for someone to ask me to give up on my child. And my child's like 2 years old. I'm like, I'm never going to quit on him. I'm never going to give up. Whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do. And so that's what we set out to do. And I tell people that day became the greatest crisis of our lives. But I encourage people to remember there's someone greater than a doctor. There's someone greater than yourself that makes miracles every day. So that's who we lean on. And my wife, I remember this day, and I just got asked this question today. My wife came to me. She said, "Do you think our son will be okay?" I said, "I know he will." She said, "Why do you say that?" I said, "Because I believe. I believe that when we send those prayers up, they will be answered. They've already been answered. We just got to take step by step do what we're supposed to do, and
That's right.
he's going to be okay. We have to trust the process
That's right.
and walk in faith.
That's
And
right.
that's what we did. By
Yeah.
doing our research, by connecting with support groups, we were walking in faith. We didn't look at it that this is going to be something next. We knew one day that a miracle is coming, but we had to work toward that miracle.
Yeah.
It was
That's the
There was
thing.
challenges along the way.
Yeah, that's the thing about the process. None of us like the process, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So we know that the process is not easy, but necessary, right?
Exactly.
In
Yes, ma'am.
that process, what do you think you learned the most in that process?
The thing that I learned is that love can conquer all. I mean, true love, real love. And I'm
Mhm.
talking about love, also for God, for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for humanity. For humanity, it will conquer all. I set out to teach my son everything I knew so that I could help him. But in the end, at the end of the day, he taught me much more than I would ever teach him. He taught me to be a better human being. He taught me to be a better father. He taught me, and just being tuned to him and appreciating that. Listen, some people are trying to have kids and they struggle with that challenge. We have this bundle of joy right here. So, I mean, for me as a father, I'm going to love him right here, no matter what it looks like. And I'm going to stand by his side and I'm going to help him reach his full potential. If anybody get in the way, they better move on out the way, because I'm going to help my child reach his full potential, no matter what it looks like. And I learned that you can never give up. Walk in love, walk in faith, and God has you. You have to believe that God has you. And it's like you haven't done anything wrong, but we are here to learn. We are here to to share our story, to encourage other people, because they want to know, how did you get through it? I wasn't always going around talking about autism and the success that we've had. I was one of those people crying. I was one of those people worried. I was one of those people worried as well. So it's like we have to encourage one another that you can do this, we can do this, and I will help you along your journey. So I learned to love deeply, walk in faith, and to never give up.
Wow, that's a word right there. You just preached a sermon, Carrie. You just preached a sermon. Carrie and I had the pleasure of meeting each other last year at the National Black Book Festival, and we had several counseling sections during that event, and I learned about Carrie's book and about his movement with his son, and it was just very inspirational. Just hearing how hard he was going for his son. We definitely, as parents, like, the sky's the limit for what we will do for our kids and how we love
Yes.
them. And no one understands that kind of love except parents. When someone says, oh well, count it out, count them out, do that. No, like, when you are a mother and a father, let me say a real mother and a
Yeah.
real father, it's just not an option to check out. And so I definitely can even identify with that myself. My oldest son he'll be 30 in August, but listen, I'm still in his business. I'm still praying for him. I'm still, if I feel like something is not right, listen, I'm texting him, I'm calling him, I'm in his business trying to see what is going on. That's just what we do. You just want to make sure your kids are good. You go to bat for them spiritually, even, and praying and making sure that they're good. And so I just salute you, Carrie, you and your wife, for
Thank
just
you.
going to bat and hanging in there. I mean, and it says a lot, the fact that, again, graduating with honors. So tell us kind of when did that take a spin? And before you answer that, let me acknowledge, hello, Miss Diana. How are you tonight? Miss Diana said, that's powerful, sir. Thanks for sharing. She
Thank
said,
you.
my motto, we need each other to feed each other. That is correct. That is correct. We
Yes.
do need
Yes.
each
Yes.
other. And I pray that somebody that's watching that may be struggling with this, sees that there are some other options versus, just the options that may have been given at the diagnosis. There are some other options, and we can kind of talk about that here in just a moment as well. But Carrie, kind of tell us, when things began to take a turn for the good and began to improve and get better, like tell us what kind of things were you putting in place when that kind of transition started to happen?
There were a couple of things that happened, and I do take my hat off to the mothers. I tell people mothers are really the foot soldiers. They are the ones taking the kids to the doctor, getting kids ready for the school, making sure everything is in place. I take my hat off to the mother, but there are also some dynamic fathers out there who are just ready to jump in and just side by side. So some good foot soldiers out there. You, Typically, you may see a father slowly come around because it's hard for a father to accept. Usually a mother will go out, talk to her girlfriends. They can have each other support. Men, they don't talk so much to each other about, especially when it comes to problems like that about their children. You can ask a man, how you doing? He'll go find, his world could be on fire. He's like, I'm fine. And you won't find out until later. But women usually talk to each other more and have a better support system. So I encourage men to talk about what they're going through because it empowers them and it empowers the person that they're sharing with. And the thing that hit me one day, I was at home playing with my son. I had this big old exercise ball. So he's only like right at 3 years old, maybe 3.5. So he's still pretty small. And this ball is so huge, so much bigger than him. And I'm chasing him through the house with this ball and he's starting to laugh. I'm like, man, laughter. Wow, that's good. So we go around in a circle. I get in front of him. He didn't know I was coming because the house sort of went like in a circle shape. I tricked him. So he got caught. He like started laughing again. So I tried to do it again. He stopped. He stopped and he started listening to see where I was with this big ball. And I'm like, this day, I still remember this day. I started shouting and I asked my wife, I said, did you see that? I said, did you see that? She said, see what? I said, this little boy just stopped to try to listen to where I was so I didn't sneak up on him. I said, he can learn. I say he can learn and we're going to teach him. We're going to find out the best way that he learned and we're going to teach him. So we started doing a lot of games. I'm big on sports. I'm big on games, even for adults. Everyone learns better when they're not stressed. Having a playful time, but putting educational opportunities in there. Each day of our lives was a life learning lesson, but we made it fun. We did a lot of dancing at home to get his energy up, to make him happy, to change his mood, the dopamine, the serotonin. We wanted him to feel good. When everyone feel good, they do good. So that was our motto, to help him feel good so he could learn. So one day when he finally entered school, the teacher like, he doesn't know his alphabet. We go, no, he does. But he won't say them at school. I say, did you try asking him to sing his alphabet? I said, he sing them all the time at home. So she said, no, we never thought about that. So once we started learning how he learned best, we fought to get into the school system because there was a pushback to teach them how he learned best. He was like the first one at that particular school. He was the first one. And I said, look, you're going to have him this year, 2 more next year, 10 in the following year. And now we're here in 2025 and you see where we are. Autism awareness, talking about autism, it's all over the news. You can't hardly meet anyone that doesn't have a child with autism or knows somebody with a child with autism. So that's how just keep pushing and keep fighting and learn how your child learned best. Share with the school or anyone who's responsible helping him learn life skills and education.
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. So wow, I mean, it started with the diagnosis. It went to you guys being able to tap in with him showing you guys that he was able to learn different things, and then you guys finding the different ways in order for him to be able to learn. I mean, it sounds like it's all about not only prayer but patience as well. Would you say that, Kerry?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
prayer.
absolutely. A lot of patience.
Yeah, yeah. Prayer and patience. And you mentioned something a few minutes ago, so I'm gonna do I'm not gonna say shameless plug, an unshameless plug. But we have a ministry conference coming up July the 19th in Dallas, Texas, called Men Hurt Too. I'm not sure if I shared that with you, Kier, but I have a men's podcast as well called My Brother's Keeper. It's a panel of 5 guys that talk about things that are hurting men, and they have real raw conversations. Well, we decided to put together a conference in Dallas, Texas, Saturday, July 19th, and it is called Men Hurt Too. And that's what it's talking about. You said some key things there a few minutes ago about how men generally won't talk about things that are going
Mhm.
on. They pretend everything's fine when it's really falling apart. And so that's what we're going to be doing there at that conference. So you
Nice,
can
very
register for
nice.
that conference on Eventbrite. There are vendor spaces available as well as tickets. We're bringing in a gentleman all the way from Michigan. He is a almost 20-year exoneree, Kerry. He served
Wow.
almost 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. And instead of coming out bitter, his motto is better not broken. And it's amazing. He's went on to do a lot of amazing things. So just kind of wanted to put that out there because definitely, we do, see a lot of times women are doing this and women are doing that. But listen, when men are doing things, we want to acknowledge that as well, because there are some amazing fathers and some amazing husbands
Mhm.
doing some amazing things. And we definitely want to talk about that as well. And then for those men that are hurting or don't know where to start to heal, we want to talk about that too, so that we can get to a place of being able to be hands-on and emotionally intelligent. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about you, Kerry, the man. Tell us, what were you like growing up? What
Oh,
was
you don't
what
want
was
to know.
family like? You were one of those. Let's get to know you, Kerry, the man, and then we're gonna come back around and you can kind of talk a little bit more about your book and your travels. So how many kids in the family, Kerry?
I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. So my mom raised 5 boys and 1 girl. And one
Okay.
day I asked my mom, I said, Mom, who was your biggest challenge? I said, you don't have to answer right away, but just tell me, who was your biggest challenge when it came to, caring for your children? And she looked at me, how mothers look at you. She didn't even have to answer because I already knew the answer. So, but I tell you what, though, she was my biggest advocate because I love sports, and she would take it away from me. She's like, listen, if you don't do A, B, and C, you're not playing. You're just simply not going to play. I'm like, how can you do this to me, lady? We're in Alabama. There's nothing else to do, and you're going to take
Yeah,
away my sports. So, but she always told me, she said, Kerry, you can do whatever you want to do if you just
yeah,
focus. She said, you have to focus. Stop talking in class. Listen to what the teachers are saying and pay attention. And I come
yeah,
to learn that, in energy goes where attention flows. So she was right. She didn't even know she was giving me a Zen moment at that time because
yeah,
it's like attention goes where, energy goes where attention flows. So she was giving me a Zen moment at that time. And
yeah.
I thank her for it to this very day, but she was my #1 advocate. She never came to the school and like, oh, my kid didn't do that. She said, yep, that sound like him. That sound exactly like him. Keep him in detention. Keep him right there. So she was hardcore. My mom's a good
Yeah,
lady. She was very hardcore. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. When did faith come into your life?
I can't even remember because we grew up in it. So it's like my father was a preacher. We've always, gone to church, attended church. I'm from Alabama, so it's not saying that everybody go to church in Alabama, but that particular time, everyone I knew did. So it was just something that was just part of our lives from day one. And we just went to Bible study, went to church, Sunday school. So it's like we're just part of our lives. So we just grew up believing that, listen, you trust in the Lord and everything's going to be all right. I've seen my mom do some amazing thing growing up in economic poverty because there was always love in the home. There was always food on the table. But at the same time, we had hard times as well. But my mom always taught us that, hey, we're going to get through this. Just keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Yeah, I remember when we met at the National Black Book Festival. Mr. Carey's table was behind mine, and I asked him. I said, "Are you a preacher?" 'Cause, from the moment he started, I didn't know. I didn't even know your father was a preacher. But
Yeah.
from the moment he started talking, I thought he was going to be Reverend such and such. Which is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That just
Right.
means he was raised well. But I said, "Are you a preacher?" Because we just started in talking about the family and the Lord, and I said he must be a preacher. You remember I asked you that?
I remember. I remember.
Yeah, yeah. So we glad to see that turned around, Mr. Carey. You and your talking and all this and that.
Absolutely. My mom is glad also.
I bet. So listen, tell us a little bit about what do you have coming up? I know, and I joked around with you, but you have been a very busy man with traveling and promoting your book. What type of events do you have coming up, and how can people get involved with the cause, Kerry?
Well, right now, thank you for asking. I sincerely appreciate it. A lot of people have given me a lot of different opportunity to, share my story. And like even right now, I live in Dallas, but right now I'm in Los Angeles, California, at the 26th annual Fathers and Family, International Conference, which is, Dr. James Rodriguez and his entire staff have been putting on for 26 years. They gave me an opportunity to speak twice at this conference. It's a great turnout, happen every year. I just encourage people to go to their website and find out more about them because it's a fatherhood conference. It's a
Oh,
fatherhood conference.
wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But not only that, you have some amazing men here, but I tell you what, you have some amazing women here. And I was talking today, so it's the energy of this conference is through the roof. It is through the roof. I've enjoyed always coming here. And every time I come here, I'm always energized. So I'm usually part of this on an annual basis. There's a conference coming up in Orlando, a disability conference in Orlando, Florida. I'm going to be a part of that one. But I encourage people to go to my website because I do offer one-on-one coaching to parents. And also, since I have a law enforcement background, I go out and offer my services to law enforcement as well on how to de-escalate certain situations. If they get a call regarding a child or a young adult who's on the spectrum, I educate them on some of the best places to look for these individuals if they elope from home. Because what people may not realize is that drowning is like the #1 cause of death for people on the spectrum because they gravitate towards water, especially for children. They gravitate towards water. So I encourage law enforcement to immediately find out what's the closest body of water so they can start searching for these young individuals, and hopefully we can find them and they're alive and healthy. I also train educators in school. So whoever asks me for help, I'm willing to give it. But I want people to know that it doesn't have to be in person. I have an online course. We can do virtual training, virtual coaching. I'm available. However best they receive the information, I will do my best to accommodate them.
Oh wow, that is amazing. And I do remember us talking about that, being able, because so many times, and let me relate this also to mental health. So many times when people, call for assistance or for help, whether it be with autism, for mental health, or for any type of, intellectual type of disability, they don't know how to handle the situation, and
Yeah,
it doesn't get de-escalated. It actually turns into something else. So that
absolutely.
is so major right there, what you just said, Carrie, about helping law enforcement to be able to know how to handle this situation and how to handle it the proper way. Now, tell those of us that are watching, and I do remember you saying, what are some key words that they need to say to law enforcement when you're calling to get assistance for a situation like autism? What are some key phrases that you need to say, or some terminology for people that are watching?
One thing I would encourage, families to do if they have a child on the spectrum is before there's a situation. I'm always about preventive. Before there's a situation, get to know your law enforcement. Some law enforcement have different protocols. If you go there to the local police and get to know them, sometimes they're able to put you on a registry that, hey, at this particular house, there's a special need kid that live there. They're 10 years old, they weigh so much. You can give them a description, and that way, if they get a call to your house or to the school, they are already familiar with the situation. There are not enough trainers out here to train everyone in law enforcement. So I encourage parents not only being an advocate with the doctor for your child, at the school for your child, but to be an advocate at your local police department for your child. I will always, lean toward prevention, prevention. But if you happen to call 911 and they're asking you what's the situation, I would definitely explain to them exactly what's going on, who my child is, that he's on the autism spectrum. He's nonverbal. If he can't speak, he's nonverbal. And also, at what level of understanding does he have? Because he may look like he may be a big kid. He may be 15, but he's only understanding level of a 7-year-old as well. And also, I would just try to give them as much information as possible about he's not violent. He hasn't
Right.
been violent in the past. He just, for whatever reason, he was upset or he's not taking his medication. I would explain in detail what's going on with him
Yeah.
or
That
her.
that's yeah, that is some very good information. And those key words, those key tips can save someone's life. So definitely want to make sure that you guys are listening to those keywords that Kerry just spoke about. In autism to awesomeness, Kerry shares these strategies as well as more about his family's journey from this devastating diagnosis to how his son ends up graduating high school with honors. Okay, so what does that tell us? That no matter what the challenge, every parent can benefit from looking within, trusting your instincts, and most importantly, celebrating every miracle. Tell us a little bit about the content that is within your book. Again, Autism to Awesome.
In the book, I go through the journey of from a father perspective on what some of the roles that I played. His mother played a major role. She was the first one to jump in and start doing everything. But when I jumped in as well, I started playing my father role and understanding how could I help. You know, she took it from the medical standpoint. I took it from the physical and the emotional standpoint. So we did a good tag team on him, and so I started taking him outside to teach him to ride a bicycle. I started taking him to the park, dribbling the basketball. And with people, I love sports because I learned a lot from sports. That really helped get me through school. I learned a lot from sport because people think that you have these athletes that are not intelligent, but these athletes are very, very intelligent. They have to learn all these plays, defense, offense. They have to know the scheme with it, and they have to pass school to play. So you have some very intelligent athletes. So I use sports with my son, dribbling with the right hand, dribbling with the left hand. And the reason for that, dribbling while he's walking forward, dribbling while he's walking backward. And the reason for that is to get his brain working where he can be exposed to different things. And if I can get him to focus on dribbling for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, this is why he's young. He can sit in circle time when he go to school now and listen to the teacher. Then I started him on a basketball program where people were coaching him, and eventually I became his coach. Not to be the best basketball player, but to give him something that he's a part of with other young boys and girls that are his age. Everyone likes to feel like they belong to something. We are not an island. People
That's
feel
right.
they get a sense of belonging. So he became a basketball player, because he was the only child at that time. And
Yeah.
we would look forward to practice, look forward to the games, especially the snacks after the game, which most kids do. So when
Yeah.
you see your son or your daughter sitting there having a fruit juice with the basketball team, you go, you got to celebrate every little miracle. When you
Yeah.
see them score a basket, because my goal was to help every kid score at least one basket during the season. And to see them score and to raise their hand and victorious to the parents, and the parents are smiling, sometimes coming to tears.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, God, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This money
Yeah.
can't buy this. Money cannot buy this. Those kids are going to grow up knowing they can
Yeah.
conquer the world, whether they're on the spectrum or not. They're going to know
Yeah.
they can conquer the world.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. That is beautiful. Very good. Very good. Do you plan on doing any more writings? Do you see that for yourself, Mr. Kerry? Are you going to be writing any more books?
Right now, I have the one book, Autism to Awesome. I also have a children book called Daddy Me, and I turned that one also into a coloring book. And years ago, I wrote my mom a poem. And so I said, I told her, I said, Mom, I'm going to turn this into a book for you. And it's very appropriate because I look at the thing that she did for us. It's like, wow, with very limited resources, 6 kids. I mean, I said, wow. So I have this poem I wrote for my mom. I plan on turning that into a children's book called My Mother, because
Mm,
for me, I love that both parents can get involved, but I just have a very close relationship with my mom, which a lot of young people do. So I just want to
yeah.
acknowledge her for the things that she done, but that's not to take away anything from any dynamic fathers that are out there. And I'm
Mhm.
always having in the back of my mind, I will come up with something like, that'll make a good book. But
Yeah.
as you know, it takes time to put things together, and sometimes you get writer block, and you have to be focused. So right
Right.
now, I'm not focused on writing anything, but I got a lot of things in the back of my mind I want to write about.
Okay. Very good. And can people find your coloring book and your book on Amazon as well?
Yes, man. All the books are listed on Amazon, or they can even go to my website at www.autism2awesome. That's the number 2 to awesome.com. And I have a link listed there as well. And on the same, monarchy, Autism to Awesome, they can find me on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Very good. Very good. Listen, it has been amazing talking to you today, getting to catch up with you, Mr. Kerry. I am going to ask you a couple of questions. My
Yes, ma'am.
platform is about healing, empowerment, and transformation. Those 3 words, tell us which one stands out the most and tell us why.
I don't know if either one stands out the most because it's a journey, and it's like you go through all of them. It's like you really, because I'm not the same person I was before my son was diagnosed with autism in any regard. Because when he was first diagnosed, I didn't feel empowered. I did not feel empowered. I definitely wasn't healed. And transformation, that was so far away, couldn't even look
Wow.
at it. Seriously. So it's like,
Yeah.
to me, you go through this, for me personally, go through this journey of learning more and trusting God. And then for me, I got a sense of empowerment that this is going to be okay. Just keep going. Just keep
Yeah.
going. Then for me, I reached the point of, while his life is beginning to transform, my wife, myself, our lives are beginning to transform. It's like, wow, this is going to be good. For me, the healing came later. Much later. And I didn't realize this. That's why I encourage people to keep a journal, to write down their thoughts, no matter what they're feeling. It's their private thoughts. Write it down. It's very, very healing. When I wrote my book, that's when the healing started for me, because it's like I never had the time to concentrate on me, because my wife and I put all the attention on our son. When I started to write my book, tears in certain chapters, tears would just come down my eyes. I'm like, where is this coming from? But I never had the opportunity for myself. So the book I wrote it for other people, but it also ended up being a huge healing process for me. And that was my journey through empowerment, transformation, and healing. And now it has come full circle where I'm able to share my story with other individuals who are going
Yeah.
through a similar journey that I went through. And I'm like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I would not be able to do this if I didn't have that journey.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I truly believe that the Lord allows the toughest battles that we go through to show us that that is our ministry, that is our message, that is, because ultimately when we go through those situations and those struggles, it's when we really learn who He is. But
Yes.
not only that, He also shows us who we are and who He's called us to be. And so this now has become your passion and your ministry, with you, sharing the word and the knowledge, the trainings and the teachings about autism. So I salute you for moving in purpose, Mr. Kerry. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here with us tonight on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. What would you like to say in closing to all of those that are watching? What would you like to say for your closing, Mr. Kerry?
First of all, I'd like to say I thank God for everything. I thank you for what you're doing, and giving me this opportunity, giving me this space to share my story. I hope that someone find it useful. I hope someone is empowered by it. And I also encourage people to never give up, to never give up. God loves each and every one of us. I don't care what anybody tell you. I will remind you what my mom told me. Stay focused and you can do anything. So I thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Carrie. Stay right there for just a moment, Carrie. Thank you to all of you for tuning in tonight to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. This is Autism Month, so if you did not know anything before this week or before this day, before this month, find out more information on how you can help the cause. If you were wondering if your child was on the spectrum, we've given you some information tonight, but please do the research and try to chime in and find out, not only for your children, but to see if you can help someone else and be a blessing. Okay. Thank you again for tuning in tonight to the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. Be blessed.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.